We have live visuals coming in. Prime Minister Modi meets Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at the G7 summit. Prime Minister Modi holds a bilateral with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on the sidelines of the G7 summit. All eyes are on the Modi-Meloni bilateral meet. He's met many other leaders on the sidelines, but this has been the big focus. Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi met UK PM Rishi Sunak. He also met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and French President Emmanuel Macron. We have Geeta Mohan joining us live on the broadcast. Geeta, all eyes have been on the Modi-Meloni bilateral meet. He's met many other leaders on the sidelines, but this has been the big focus. What do you think is the agenda of the Modi-Meloni bilateral, the big talking points?
Well, there are a lot of issues and areas. We spoke with the Italian Prime Minister. I spoke with him before I left for Italy, and he specified that there are major areas of defense, strategic cooperation, trade. There is a mobility agreement that was signed, which will be activated when the leaders meet. So more job opportunities for Indians in Italy. They can travel. The cap for jobs for Indians will also be increased. That's a very important one. And then there's a port of call of a very important carrier, an Italian carrier that will be reaching Maharashtra in October. These are aspects that the two sides will discuss, but there are many issues that grapple the world today. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi certainly has had conversations with all the leaders on that front as well, including with President Zelenskyy. But it is a micro moment everybody is waiting for over here. Let's see what the visuals and the pics when they come out look like, because the social media already abuzz with the hashtag Melody. So let's see whether that is certainly going to be buzz after the visuals come in. We do know that they've been known to take selfies, have those personal life moments. This time around, because it was Prime Minister Meloni herself who was hosting the event, she had very little time, although she did welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi with a lot of warmth and a namaste. But again, we'll have to wait and see whether there's a micro moment there in the also important bilateral meeting that's underway as we speak.
Geeta, Modi and Meloni's personal camaraderie is much talked about. Do you think that has played a bearing on the larger India-Italy picture?
Well, absolutely. That certainly has had an impact on bilateral relations. Leadership roles do play a very important role. Remember, Italy and India in not so long ago past had a very difficult relationship, whether it had to do with the Italian Marines case or, for that matter, the Augusta Westland chopper scam. But we've seen a slow and steady rise in terms of relations between the two countries, and the tide changing when it comes to where they want to take it. So Italy is important for India. Italy is one of the most important growing powers in the European Union after Germany for now. But if you look at the EU elections, it just seems like Giorgia Meloni is going to be kingmaker and is going to be very important in the coming future. So within the European Union itself. So this meeting is indeed very important, not just for India-Italy ties, but India-EU ties as well. We only recently signed an FTA with the 4 countries of the European Union, and that was a very important one. Again, looking at EU-India FTA, whether that's going to happen or not, it's going to be very important to see how Giorgia Meloni plays a very important role in that inclusivity of India within the EU framework of trade, of economic growth, of economic partnership, and strategic partnership.
You know, Prime Minister Modi spoke at the G7 summit, and he also spoke about the Indian electoral process, maximizing the use of technology on a global scale. What do you think are the takeaways from Prime Minister Modi's G7 address?
Well, he did participate in the outreach session because the G7 is basically for the G7 leaders. So the main forum is very exclusive to the G7 body, and it's the outreach session, which is where the guest countries really participate. He participated in the outreach session on artificial intelligence, climate, energy, the Mediterranean, and Africa. So this was a very important one, given that India played a very important role in including the African Union within the G20 under India's presidency. And the fact that today's security, stability, all depends on how the countries come together in cooperating on digital space, digital security, data security, responsible use of artificial intelligence. And that's what he really focused on. But he did begin his speech, his address, by talking about the electoral system in India and how he's come with a clear mandate to form government. Albeit it's not a BJP-led, but an NDA coalition government, but nonetheless one that shows stability and will provide a lot of clarity in terms of having that engagement, a continuum in foreign policy between India and the world.
Right. Thank you, Geeta, for joining us with all those details.